The first slap of lake water against the dock piling sounded louder than usual that morning. Or maybe I was just hearing things through the red haze of anger. There it was, a brand new sign bolted to my private marina slip, its reflective letters burning in the dawn light. No fishing. HOA Rule 14.7. Violators fined $500. My fishing rod clattered to the weathered planks as I grabbed the sign. No approval stamp. No notice. Just a faint smell of Linda Carmichael's cloying peach perfume lingering on the plastic. That's when I knew this wasn't about bass or bluegill. This was the opening salvo in a war she'd been planning for years. The lake that started it all. Willow Lake wasn't some manicured HOA pond. My grandfather had bought these 12 acres of waterfront back when the surrounding land was still dairy farms. When the Willow Ridge subdivision went up in the 90s, our property became the only private marina access, complete with grandfather clauses protecting our fishing and docking rights. Linda had been HOA president for 3 miserable years, the type who carried a decibel meter to measure backyard laughter. Last summer, she tried to ban jet skis after 5 p.m. Before that, it was a crusade against unsightly dock lights. But this crossed the line, the first counterstrike. I didn't rip the sign down. That's what she wanted. An excuse to call the code enforcement buddies she golfed with every Thursday. Instead, I pulled out my phone and documented everything. Close-ups of the unapproved installation damaging my dock's railing. Time-stamped photos proving the sign hadn't been there at midnight. A video panning to the private property, no trespassing markers every 10 feet. Then I went to work. By noon, 3 new signs stood guard along my shoreline. Private lakefront, no HOA jurisdiction. Docking fee, $50 per day. HOA members $100. Unauthorized swimming equals $20 fine per minute. The last one featured the HOA's own logo stolen from their website. A petty touch my lawyer would later call ill-advised, but my fishing buddies toasted as genius. The Karen cometh. Linda arrived in her golf cart at 5:15 p.m., trailing 2 board members like remmers. I watched from the bait shop window as she jabbed a manicured finger at my signs, her strawberry blonde bob vibrating with outrage. Mr. Callahan. Her knock rattled the doorframe. This is blatant harassment. I opened the door slowly, wiping my hands on an oil rag. Funny, I was just thinking the same thing about your little midnight decoration job. I nodded toward the NO fishing sign, now hanging upside down behind my counter like a trophy. Linda's lips disappeared into that thin white line every HOA tyrant masters. Those waters are community property. Actually, I said, pulling a weathered document from under the counter, the 1992 easement agreement says. She didn't let me finish. We'll see what the judge says. The golf cart squealed away, but not before I got a photo of her tires crushing my newly seeded shoreline grass. The nuclear option. That night, I spread Grandpa's old land maps across the dining table. There, in faded ink, was a clause even Linda didn't know about. Asterisk literal rights for docks 1 to 6 shall remain with original property owners in perpetuity, including but not limited to fishing, docking, and access fees. Asterisk. The dates matched the HOA's founding documents. The signatures aligned. And the kicker? The HOA had been using my family's dock for their annual Willow Ridge Water Festival for 15 years without permission. As my printer hummed to life producing past due notices for every event since 2008, at $2,500 per unauthorized use, the lake outside mirrored my grin, dark, deep, and full of hidden teeth. The certified mail receipt burned a hole in my pocket as I watched Linda Carmichael unfold my carefully itemized bill through the bait shop window. Her face cycled through 3 distinct shades of red before she stormed inside, waving the papers like a white flag dipped in poison. You think this is funny? The invoice trembled in her grip. Page 1 alone listed 15 years of unauthorized Willow Ridge Water Festival dock usage at $2,500 per event, plus a 20% trespassing surcharge. I slid my calculator across the counter. You're welcome to check the math. Compound interest starts at day 30. The lawsuit that backfired. Linda's retaliation came faster than I expected. By Thursday, a process server delivered papers accusing me of Extortion, my docking fee signs. Vandalism, removing their no fishing notice. Emotional distress. This one included a photo of Linda clutching a Xanax bottle. But it was the fourth page that revealed her trump card. Asterisk. Plaintiff requests immediate injunction under County Waterway Ordinance 14B. Signed by Commissioner Robert Yates. Asterisk. I nearly laughed aloud. Yates was Linda's brother-in-law, a fact conveniently omitted from the filing. The conflict of interest was so blatant. Even the process server winced when I pointed it out. The midnight inspection. That's when I knew I needed irrefutable proof. At 1:17 a.m., my security cameras caught a shadowy figure paddling a kayak toward the HOA's water testing buoy, the same one they'd installed after my invoices arrived. Through night vision binoculars, I watched Linda's lackey, Jerry from Lot 42, haul up a black case instead of sampling equipment. I intercepted him at the shore. Testing the pH of $100 bills, Jerry? The case popped open when he dropped it, not water sensors. Cash. Stacks of 20s bound with Waterfest rubber bands. The secret revenue stream. Jerry folded faster than a lawn chair in a hurricane. Turns out the Water Festival wasn't some community charity event. For years, the HOA board had been charging vendors $500 per day to use MY docks, running an unlicensed beer garden, even renting out fishing spots to tourists, all while declaring it a non-profit neighborhood activity. The black case? That night's proceeds they'd been stashing the buoy to avoid depositing. The sheriff's delight. By sunrise, 3 things happened in rapid succession. My lawyer filed a counterclaim with Jerry's notarized statement. The county treasurer started auditing 15 years of HOA tax filings. Sheriff Dawson, who'd been fishing off my dock since we were kids, personally served Linda with subpoena during her No More Mr. Nice Guy emergency board meeting. The board drew mutiny. I'll never forget the sound of Linda's gavel hitting the floor when Treasurer Mark Reynolds dropped his own bomb. You told us those festival funds were going to lake maintenance. My records show $218,000 missing since 2015. The ensuing shouting match could be heard clear across the water. By meeting's end, 3 board members resigned. The HOA attorney recused himself mid-meeting. Linda was suspended pending investigation. The fishing lesson. As I sat on the dock that evening reeling in a fat largemouth, Linda's Mercedes screeched to a halt on the access road. She didn't get out, just stared through the windshield with a hollow look of a woman who'd finally hooked something too big to reel in. I raised my beer in salute. The base splashed back into the water, and somewhere in the distance, a for sale sign went up outside Jerry's house. The smell of burning paperwork woke me at 3:08 a.m. Through my bedroom window, orange flames flickered from the HOA clubhouse dumpster. A silhouette I'd recognize anywhere. Linda's hunched shoulders and that damn strawberry blonde bob, frantically fed documents to the fire. When my phone buzzed with security alert from the Lake Buoy camera, I knew this wasn't just about covering up stolen festival money anymore. The buoy footage. The infrared video showed 2 figures in a Boston whaler I'd last seen at the Water Festival. Not Linda this time. Treasurer Mark Reynolds and a silver-haired man I didn't recognize transferring something bulkier than cash into the buoy's hidden compartment. Then the audio kicked in. Tell Yates we need the Nassau papers by Friday. The stranger growled before the buoy's camera mysteriously malfunctioned. The paper chase. At dawn, I paddled out and retrieved the buoy's contents myself. Beneath the remaining cash stacks lay a burner phone taped in waterproof plastic, a key labeled BSBX 1147, a receipt from Grand Bahama Shipyard for $18,500, marine storage. The phone's last received text froze my blood. Liquidate all accounts. Came in Nassau. They found the festival books. The whistleblower. I was still deciphering the clues when my doorbell rang. Sarah Lipton, the HOA's newly resigned secretary, stood clutching a manila envelope, her eyes darting to every security camera in sight. Linda's been moving money for years, she whispered. Not just the festival. The pool repairs. The playground fund. All of it. The envelope contained scan pages from a ledger marked Special Projects, line items like dock upgrades, $75,000 beside handwritten notes, asterisk, actual cost $22,000, Balance to BSBX 1147. Asterisk. Sarah pointed to the strange code. That the Bahamas safety deposit box. I found the key in Linda's desk the day she fired the landscaping crew. The sheriff goes fishing. Sheriff Dawson's boat cut through the noon glare as we motored toward the whaler's last known coordinates. His reaction to the buoy footage? Well, I'll be damned. We finally got something that'll stick on Bob Yates. Turns out the silver-haired man was Richard Vance, a disbarred attorney and Yates' college roommate. More importantly, Vance owned a shell company called Blue Water Holdings that had managed every major HOA project for a decade. The offshore trap. While Dawson got a warrant for Vance's boat, I called in a favor from an old Marine Patrol buddy, now working customs. What he found in the Bahamas registry made my head spin. Account X, 1147 at Bahamas Security Bank, held $327,000. Linked to a Grand Bahama marina storing a 42-foot Sea Ray. All under Willow Ridge Community Services, Limited, a corporation none of our homeowners had ever heard of. The midnight confrontation. We caught Vance and Yates unloading duffel bags at the private docks at 1:17 a.m. Dawson's floodlights revealed $280,000 in vacuum-sealed bundles. The original HOA ledger showing $1.4 million in discrepancies. A notarized bill of sale for the Sea Ray in Linda's name. Yates tried to bluff. This is a sting operation. I'm gathering evidence. Then Vance made his fatal mistake. He lunged for the ledger. Dawson tossed him mid-lunge. The duffel burst open, scattering bound hundreds across the dock like oversized confetti. The fallout. By sunrise, Linda was arrested trying to board a flight to Fort Lauderdale. Yates resigned as zoning commissioner before his indictment. Vance flipped instantly, revealing Linda had skimmed 30% of every HOA project since 2012. But the real kicker? The Sea Ray's GPS log showed monthly trips to a certain Bahamian bank, with Commissioner Yates on every manifest. The last sign. As the FBI hauled away boxes from the HOA office, I nailed one final notice to the clubhouse door. Private property. Former HOA board members owe $327,000 in unauthorized docking fees, payable immediately. Mrs. Petrovsky brought me lemonade as I admired my handiwork. You know they'll just declare bankruptcy, she sighed. I sipped slowly, watching the Sea Ray get towed away by the feds. Maybe, but the IRS audits? Those last forever. The moving trucks arrived at Linda's foreclosed mansion on a Tuesday morning, their glossy black exteriors devoid of company logos. I watched from my dock as a team of stone-faced movers unloaded furniture too expensive for Willow Ridge, Italian leather sofas, what looked like a genuine Eames lounge chair, and a massive oil painting of a sailboat that probably cost more than my bait shop. Then he stepped out of the black Escalade. Mid-50s. Salt and pepper hair. The kind of tailored navy blazer that screamed, I own a yacht, but pretend it's no big deal. He surveyed the lake with an unsettling familiarity before locking eyes with me across the water and raising his coffee cup in a mock toast. I didn't need the Vance and Lockwood, LLC, business card my fishing buddy slipped me later to know. This guy wasn't just some rich retiree. He was part of the game. The ledger's last secret. Sarah Lipton's envelope had contained one last puzzle, a single ledger page labeled Project Deepwater, with 3 chilling lines. Final transfer, $887,000 to BSBX 1147. Vessel prep complete. Cleanup crew on standby. My Marine Patrol contact ran the Sea Ray's log again. On 3 separate dates, the boat had made midnight trips back to Willow Lake after Bahamas deposits. The coordinates matched a depth of 120 feet, right above the old limestone quarry flooded when they dammed the river to create the lake. Whatever Deepwater was, they'd sunk it, literally. The night diver. I suited up at midnight. The waterproof metal detector screamed before I'd even reached 80 feet. There, wedged between limestone boulders, lay a corroded steel crate, its combination lock still intact. The symbols etched into its side made my regulator slip from my teeth. Radioactive 24-hour radiological services, radioactive. Suddenly, Linda's frantic document burning, and Vance's cleanup crew comment took on a horrifying new meaning. The new neighbor's visit. I was still pressure washing the quarry sealed off my gear when he appeared at my shop door. No knock, just a bell jingling like he owned the place. Detective Callahan, he said, though I'd never worn my old badge here. James Lockwood, we should talk about your late-night scuba adventures. He slid a photo across the counter, me surfacing with the crate's GPS coordinates written on my dive slate. Here's what's going to happen, Lockwood said, his voice all polished menace. You'll forget you saw that container. In return, I won't report your illegal salvage operation to the EPA. They take radiological dumping quite seriously. I pushed the photo back. Funny, the EPA tends to care more about who paid for the dumping. His smile didn't reach his eyes. The people who pay for that are the kind who make problems disappear. Be smart. The whistleblower's warning. Sarah showed up shaking the next morning. Lockwood isn't just some lawyer, she whispered. He represented Vance's other client, the one who contracted the soil remediation after the old chemical plant closed in 2009. A quick search revealed Atlantic Environmental Solutions had been paid $4.2 million to safely dispose of the plant's waste. Federal records showed it was shipped to a licensed facility in Utah, but the dates didn't match. The Utah facility had no record of receiving it until 6 weeks later. The sheriff's dilemma. Dawson spread the dive photos across his desk. Christ, you're telling me Yates approved dumping nuclear waste in our lake. Not nuclear, I corrected. The plant processed rare earth metals. Probably thorium or uranium byproducts, still nasty but not weapon grade. He rubbed his temples. And Lockwood's threat means they're scared. That crate's serial numbers will trace right back to the missing shipment, the midnight extraction. We hit the water at 3 a.m. with the FBI Environmental Crimes Team. The crate's contents? 12 corroded canisters labeled U-238 slurry. A shipping manifest signed by Robert Yates, County Commissioner. A payment receipt to Atlantic Environmental Solutions for $887,000. Disposal services. Lockwood's boat appeared just as we surfaced. Through binoculars, I watched him speed dial someone before hurling his phone into the lake. The sign that ended it all. By noon, news vans surrounded Lockwood's mansion. He fled before dawn, leaving behind a shredder full of Atlantic environmental documents, a flight receipt to Buenos Aires, and one final insult, a for sale sign identical to Linda's. I added my own touch below it. Private property, formerly owned by environmental criminals. Swimming not advised, see EPA notice. The lake turned out to be more toxic than anyone imagined. EPA testing revealed uranium-238 levels at 1,400% above safe limits near the crate site, reading so high. They triggered an immediate statewide drinking water alert. By sundown, Willow Lake was ringed with yellow hazard tape and swarming with officials in full hazmat suits. I stood beside Sheriff Dawson as the news cameras rolled, watching the only home I'd ever known become a Superfund site in real time. Then my phone buzzed with a message that changed everything. Inmate number 38721 requests visitation. Says she'll only talk to you. Linda wanted a deal. The jailhouse deal. She looked smaller in the orange jumpsuit. Her signature strawberry bob, now a dull gray under the fluorescent lights. The moment the guard left us, she leaned across the bolted-down table, her whisper frantic. They never told me what was in those barrels. Vance said it was just construction runoff. I slid a photo of the U-238 label across the table. This runoff causes kidney failure. There are families who've been swimming in that water for 15 years. Her hand shook as she pushed a crumpled napkin toward me. On it, written in eyeliner, check the HOA time capsule, 2009. The buried ledger. The Willow Ridge time capsule, a stainless steel box welded shut during the neighborhood's 10th anniversary, had been collecting dust in the clubhouse basement. It took a plasma cutter to open it. Inside, beneath the usual civic plaques and family photos, lay a second, smaller box, wrapped in lead-line foil. The contents made the EPA investigator swear aloud. A duplicate set of Atlantic environmental shipping manifests. Photos of Yates supervising the crate's midnight dumping. A memo from Lockwood's firm approving the alternative disposal solution. But the real smoking gun? A signed affidavit from Vance admitting the entire scheme. An insurance policy he'd hidden from his partners. The whistleblower's endgame. Sarah Lipton was waiting on my dock when I returned, her face ashen. "Lockwood's back," she whispered. He didn't flee. He went to get someone. Through my binoculars, I watched a new figure step onto Lockwood's porch, an elderly man in a wheelchair, his face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat. The way Lockwood hovered nervously beside him told me everything. This wasn't just some client. This was the money, the billionaire's bluff. He introduced himself as Charles Whitmore III, retired CEO of Piedmont Chemical, the company that had owned the original thorium processing plant. "Detective," he wheezed, oxygen tube snaking from his nose to a portable tank. "I understand you become quite the environmental crusader." His gnarled hand produced a checkbook. "The EPA estimates cleanup at $28 million. I'm prepared to write that check today." In exchange, a bony finger tapped the affidavit. "Some histories are better left buried." I almost laughed. "You think this is about money? There are kids with uranium in their bones." Whitmore's smile showed expensive dentures. "Then perhaps you prefer criminal charges? Your midnight diving expedition was technically theft of evidence. And dear Linda's testimony about your creative invoicing practices could prove embarrassing." The sheriff's endgame. Dawson's voice boomed from the doorway. "Funny you should mention theft, Mr. Whitmore." Two agents wheeled in a car of evidence bags. The crate's contents, now officially logged. "See, Detective Callahan had a warrant for that dive. Signed by a federal judge after your boy Lockwood here tried to destroy evidence." Whitmore's oxygen tank hissed as the FBI agents read him his rights. His last words as they cuffed his wrist to the wheelchair: "You'll never prove I knew." The final sign. 1 month later, I stood beside the drain lake basin as crews in radiation suits removed the last contaminated soil. The EPA had relocated 7 families for permanent housing. The national news cycle had moved on. Only one thing remained, the original NO fishing sign for my dock, now encased in a glass display at the county courthouse as Exhibit A in United States versus Whitmore et al. I hung a new sign on my rebuilt marina. Fishing encouraged. Water quality. 99.9% clean. EPA approved 2024 inch. Mrs. Petrovsky brought her great-grandchildren to christen the dock with their first casts. As the kids squealed over sunfish, she pressed a jar of homemade blackberry jam into my hands. "Next time," she whispered, "just shoot the bitch and save us all the trouble." The night before the lake refilling, my underwater camera spotted something else glinting in the quarry's depths, a second crate marked with the same radiation symbol. But when the FBI divers went back, it was gone.